Hi.
Hi.
Long time no see.
Yeah. I'm upset.
Yeah,
But
the
let's
dog.
talk about it. Let's talk about it because well, I'm a very experienced dog person and I think it'll be an interesting
You'll have
thing.
good perspective.
I do have a question, but before I ask that question, why don't we welcome everyone into this episode of Squintcast? Welcome, everyone. My name is Kelly.
And I'm Brittany.
And today we're going to talk about Bones, season 4. What episode is this? Because
Episode 4, technically.
technically 4, maybe 3. We're going to call it
We'll call it
4.
4. Yeah,
Okay.
because
I'll
parts 1
figure out
and 2
how
we
it
called
looks
1
in
and
the
2.
scheme of things,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And what's it called?
Indeed.
Sorry.
It's called The Finger in the Nest.
Yes.
Bum, 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 bum. This
Okay.
episode aired on September 17th, 2008.
Okay.
Do you want to know right off the bat who directed and who
Yes,
wrote?
please. Yes, please.
So the director is someone named Jeff Woolnough, which we've talked about him before because I cannot pronounce his name. He was in The Killer in the he directed The Killer in the Concrete. He directed The Intern and the Incinerator, The Santa and the Slush. This episode he'll direct, and then he goes on to direct 1 more in season 4 and 2 more in season 5. And then that is all for Jeff with the unpronounceable last name.
Can I ask you again when this aired?
September 17th, 2008.
2008.
Yeah.
Okay. And who wrote it?
It was written by Lila Oliver.
Have we heard from her before?
She passed away on April 18th, 2021. That's very sad at the age of 70.
Yeah. Okay.
She did not write or produce much over her career, actually. Judging Amy is the show that she wrote the most episodes for.
Did you love that show?
I watched it with my mom growing up, and it was pretty good. But for Bones, she wrote 5 episodes. The Priest in the Churchyard, which was in season 2. She wrote The Finger in the Nest in this season. Obviously, that's the one we're talking about today. 1 more in season 4, 1 more in season 6, and then 1 final one in season 8. But the last thing she wrote before she passed away was a couple episodes of Madam's Secretary.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my little update for you. There are...
We were talking about that. I just, when we get to it, I do have a little bit of research we can talk about because it's a very interesting timing. It's a very timely, it's timely. It's a ripped from the headlines sort of story. So
yeah, I think this season seems to be like that. I think it seems like there's, well, this show, I guess in general, they kind of base it on some
a
real
lot of
life
true crime stuff is gonna base it on true crime stuff. Yeah, for sure.
Well, should we get started? Shall we?
I'll just have you know that I shared cheese with my dog while I was eating my cheese and crackers. He's very he'll come up on the couch. He has this thing whenever we eat our meals, because we eat on the couch, watch TV, because there's no kids. We don't eat at the table anymore. Who does that? Anyway.
Yeah.
We're eating on the couch, and Tiki always insists when we're having our meals to sit between us. He has to sit on the couch between myself and Greg. Just in case food comes his way. So I give him cheese while we're eating. And then Greg brought us home pork souvlaki on a bun, like sandwiches kind of thing for dinner. So yeah.
Delicious.
he was very interested in that as well. So we'll see if Greg
Awesome.
gives any of that up.
Oh.
Just so everyone knows my stance on cruelty to animals, I believe in feeding the dog the cheese. Have you seen the video on TikTok where there's a song a guy made up about the dog eating cheese? Have you seen this one?
No.
It's called the cheese tax. Well, if you haven't had a lot of dogs like I have, but he's making up this song. I might repost it on Insta on their stories or something for fun. And
Okay,
he's
yeah.
like, the cheese tax, you gotta pay the cheese tax. Oh, I'm here now, you're making a sandwich, you gotta pay the cheese tax. It's just all about paying the cheese tax to the dog. Like, whenever you pull it out of the fridge, you have to give him a piece of cheese. Like, it's an unwritten
And the dog is
rule.
right
Like,
there.
every single dog owners know exactly what I'm talking about. They're right there. Like, they can hear it, like, from upstairs. They'll come down,
Yeah.
like, the cheese tax. Anyway,
That's so funny.
I'm gonna send it to you.
There are a lot of very cute dogs in this episode.
Oh, my heart.
I need to know your stance on small dogs, but we can talk about that as we get further into the episode.
Yes. On that note, shall we begin discussing this episode? I'm going to let you start.
Sure. Well, Booth was having a day with Parker, like Mark had with Wayne today, being a great dad, hanging with him, showing him how to do some stuff. In this case, Booth was showing his son Parker how to throw a football. So they're at a park and they're throwing this football around. It's super cute and they're tackling each other. And then they look up from their tackle on the ground position, and Parker sees this bird's nest. He's like, whoa, so cool. And he wants his dad to lift him up so high so he can see inside the bird's nest. And so he does. And he does find something, in fact, but it is not a bird or an egg. It is a human finger with like a bunch of flesh eaten off of it. So it's clearly gotten to by a bunch of birds. But anyway, poor Booth, just trying to be a good dad, enjoy the afternoon with his son. The cheese tax.
I just like, I don't know, I don't follow you on TikTok. Okay, listen.
I don't have TikTok.
Oh, sorry.
Every time you're cooking, when the cheese comes out, this puppy comes looking. The rules are the rules, and the facts are the facts. And when the cheese drawer opens, you gotta pay the tax. The cheese tax. The cheese tax. The cheese tax. The cheese tax.
When the food comes out, you gotta pay the tax.
I already said that to my dad. My dad every morning.
You can say that. You're an accountant. But you can call it whatever you want. The miscellaneous tax. The miscellaneous tax.
I have to send that to my dad because every morning.
The child tax.
The child tax. This is my eligible dependent. No, that doesn't work. That's nice.
You have
my
someone
dad every
suffering on your
morning.
couch. You have to pay the tax.
I've already taught Wayne about tax. I give him one goldfish. I get one goldfish. You know,
He gets 2 goldfish. You get 3.
I get 3. He's in a high tax bracket.
Yeah.
But my dad has raisin bread every morning, and he always puts aside the raisins, and he gives the dog, always gets at least 1 raisin. He loves these raisins.
The dog eats the raisins?
Loves raisins.
Can I tell you how much I hate raisins?
I love raisins. Raisin is so
raisins. I hate them. I think they're awful. But I want to get back to Parker.
Yeah, sorry.
Booth's kid is cracking me up. I love how enthusiastic he is about this really disgusting finger in the nest.
Oh yeah,
He's
loves
like,
it.
Don't worry, Dad. There's no eggs in here. It's just a finger. And it was just like the way he said it. At first, I was a little annoyed because he's like, "Oh, great, here we go, friggin' kid."
He'll get PTSD. No, this poor kid's gonna have issues.
He's like, "Oh, this is awesome, cool finger." No, it's not. I wouldn't do that when I was a kid. I'd be like, "Oh, this is so cool." You poke at it, like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, he's like, whoa, grabs it. I'm like, oh my
I
God.
know.
So we end up back in the lab. And
No, we don't, because the
Oh, no,
next
sorry.
scene is I'm just gonna don't say anything.
Okay.
I'm gonna do something.
The cheese tux. It's so catchy.
You ready? I was trying to find the song that goes "Sound the Alarm."
There wasn't going to be a song. I was going to start rapping. This is the
What's
time
the
that Brandon
"Sound the
drives her
Alarm"
own car.
song?
She's
Is this
in her
it?
car by
Sound the
herself.
alarm. What's the song?
Sound the alarm.
At IHG
Oh,
Hotel.
it's gonna take so much. Hold on. It's totally worth it. I promise. I'm just gonna cut all this out.
Please don't.
Touch the pleasure.
I don't think that's it.
You know what I'm talking about.
Sound the alarm. Boom.
What's the
I'm
song?
gonna
What's
try
it
to
called?
find
Who
it.
sings it? Sound the alarm song. Oh, it's Nicki Minaj, isn't it?
Yes, I think you're right. This is it. Down.
It's not. Anyway. I'm gonna cut all that out.
No,
Fuck
it is. It is in that song though. Sound
But
the
it's
alarm.
not sound, it's pound the alarm. I want sound the alarm
Oh.
because I just want you to know the next scene is Brennan driving her car.
It's happening. It's happening. She owns one. She owns a car. She's paid insurance on it, and she's finally getting use of it. Incredible.
You should be so excited that she's
She's an independent woman talking on her cell phone while driving.
yes. Well, she's got Bluetooth. Looks like there's Bluetooth
Yeah.
in here.
There is, because she's rich.
Okay,
So
who's
that's
she
neat,
talking
having
to?
Bluetooth in your car. Okay, she's
Oh my
talking to
God, yeah.
Cam,
Yeah.
who's with the new grad student, Mr. Starrett, who is a mature student.
Yeah.
He is Brennan's oldest grad student, in fact. Anyway, so yeah, Cam is like, did Parker completely freak out when the figure came out? He's like, oh no, apparently not. Anyway, the new grad student, he has 4 sons. He's been around. He is like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He wouldn't care. And then Hodgins walks onto the platform and is like, I know you. And then he has the audacity to be like, yeah, you're right. I sold you a lemon. This lemon hot rod back in the day.
No, he didn't.
He doesn't say lemon.
that.
He says, oh, I sold you a vintage hot rod back in the day, but you were clean and shaven back then. And Hodgins is like, you sold me a lemon. That car broke down within a week. And so this is not a good place to start a relationship with a brand new intern.
Well, yeah, because Hodgins walks onto the platform saying he found some saliva, and the saliva has some traces of the specific type
Yeah.
of Japanese cherry. And then Hodgins is very like, hey, wait a minute. Like, and then they have this exchange. Turns out this old guy, Starrett, sold Hodgins a car, and Hodgins says it was a shit car. So Hodgins immediately has this resentment against this new
Yeah.
intern. This is
And
like
meanwhile, Cam
so
is like,
many years ago.
people.
Yeah, Cam breaks it
Get
up. She's
back
like,
to
okay,
work.
guys, get back to work here.
Like,
Because
there
Hodgins
are
is
body parts
acting
missing.
Yes, Hodgins is acting super aggro in this moment. And then the intern pipes up, Starrett pipes up and says, you know what? There's a place that has really a lot of Japanese cherry trees.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a very interesting sort of detective way that they narrowed down the area as to where they might find more remains that may have to do with the finger.
Yeah.
Based on the saliva that Hodgins found and the type of tree, they figure because the saliva belongs to a crow, a type of crow, that
Yeah.
only the furthest distance they go from their nests is 12 miles. And then they find this specialty sort of Japanese cherry orchard that's 8 miles away from where the finger was found.
Yeah.
So they figure it's in this specific area. So then what happens?
Well, then we have this realization that this episode meant to be aired not one, but 2 episodes, not as the next episode, but 2 episodes after Zach was found to be Gormagon's apprentice, because Hodgins says, like, when they find all this stuff out, it's so cool, as Kelly just said. And
Yeah.
then he says, I'd say king of the lab, but that just depresses me. So, because that was him and Zach's thing back in the day. So, Booth is so extremely worried. He has brought Parker to the FBI office.
No,
He is sitting.
Has he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
he
sitting
has.
in.
You're correct.
Yeah.
I
He's sitting
apologize.
in. Parker's just sitting in Booth's office, just chilling there while Booth and Sweets have a little chat outside the office. And he's like, Sweets, you got to cure him. You got to talk to him. Like, he's going to get PTSD from this. Like, I can't deal with that. I don't need his chakras to be unaligned. Like, help him out, please. And surprising to me, Sweets is hesitant to help because he thinks it would just make it worse. Which makes sense, I guess, because he doesn't want to go up to this poor kid and be like, hey, let's talk about all the ways that this is going to fuck you up. So he just wants to see how it plays out. And he says, like, if there's any symptoms of distress, then reach out to me. But otherwise, don't worry. It's interesting to me that Booth is reaching out to Sweets for help on this when they always tease him so much about his abilities. But I guess he's the
Sweets'
only.
abilities. Yeah, this whole interaction is quite fun.
I like it.
I'm with Sweets. Sweets doesn't want to make it a big deal because the minute
Yeah.
you start, it's like you're around a child, a dog, a cat, whatever. If you start making a fuss, then the animal or child is going to believe there is a fuss
Yeah.
to be made. So it just creates anxiety where there doesn't need to be any. He doesn't want to create problems. So
Yeah.
next we
We've
have
learned that with Wayne.
Yes. Next
Where he
we
smokes
have.
his head. Sorry, go on.
It's okay. Go ahead about Wayne.
No, he just smoked his head off the counter today because he can't.
Oh
He's too
my
tall. He can't
God.
walk underneath it anymore. Like, he has to crouch, and he forgets sometimes. So he
Ugh.
smokes his head off this table. Like, you know what I'm talking about? That, like,
Yeah.
overhang. So he smokes his head off, then looks over at us for what his reaction should be. And we're both like, you okay,
Yeah.
buddy? And he's like, ow. Yeah, okay. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, if you freak out about every scrape and bruise and
Yeah.
all this stuff, then it's not going to be very tough for the world outside, you know? You gotta
No,
like,
definitely not. Anyway,
yeah.
sorry.
Regardless.
Carry on. I'll stop
Anyway.
interrupting.
Next, we have Booth and Brennan. They're at the park where all the cherry trees are, and they have a whole FBI team out there searching for remains or some kind of clue as to whose body this finger is attached to. I'm just going to throw this, like, this is pretty wild to me that they would go put a full-on search in operation based on a finger. Like, who knows where the hell that finger came from? I mean, sure, the crow doesn't go very far, but who knows where the finger, like maybe another bird dropped it or some, you know what I mean, from even further away. So I don't know how they can narrow it. I don't think this is all that believable, and to put all this manpower into it seems.
They are searching at night,
why?
Which seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
And also, why is this an FBI case? Because they found one finger.
Okay.
This is what we were talking about last episode.
Exactly. I'm going to bring this up because I think, like, doesn't there have to be certain parameters that this reaches? Like, you know, it has to be like a multiple state situation. It has to be like a national thing, or it has to be a case that involves some kind of felony that's like a national. I don't know what that's called when it's a felony that's
multi-jurisdictional. I don't know.
Perhaps. I'm not a lawyer. Don't
Yeah.
ask me these questions. I'm throwing shit at the wall. Regardless, they're at this place, and Brendan is trying to reassure Booth, like they're waiting around for the investigators while they're searching the park, and they're in the car or by the car, and Booth and Brendan are talking. Brendan's trying to reassure Booth that, you know, Park is going to be fine. She turned out all right, you know, like she saw a dead body when she was young, and Booth's like, yeah, but look at you, you play with bones all day, you know. Anyway, so it turns out they go back and forth a few times, but then Brendan figures it out. She calls him out and says, you know what? You're worried that Rebecca's going to find out about this. That's what you're worried about. And then Booth, he cops to it and says, yeah, I'm just hoping Parker
immediately.
keeps his mouth shut. Like he's hoping Parker doesn't tell her. It's so funny because it's true. That's so funny when you have parents, even though Booth and Rebecca seem to have a pretty like copacetic arrangement and they seem to get along. I just think it's still true to this day, and you don't know the situation, but you never want the other parent to know like what they get up to when they're not around. So the next scene, I feel
Poor Booth is so scared.
can I just say this next scene is so funny to me because they get interrupted by one of the team. They say, we found something. So they go into this park, into the woods, and there's a possum or opossum, apologies,
Yeah.
just mowing down on these remains that are just lying there on the ground. And Booth's like, ugh, like he's all grossed out. And Brendan's like, oh, don't worry. Like, Booth wants to shoot it. He wants to shoot the possum. And Brendan's like, no, he's fine. They're more scared of humans. So she goes, shoo. She's trying to shoo him away. The possum's not going anywhere.
She's like clapping her hands like shoo, shoo, shoo,
go,
shoo, shoo.
go, go. Shoo. And Booth's like, oh, I'm so scared. But then
This thing is like slowly walking away.
he's like kind of sauntering away. And it's kind of true. Possums are slow. So he walks away slowly. And then they're having a little chit chat about, oh, there's this evidence around. So there's a fanny pack. There's what's called a PDA, which is a
Personal digital. Wait 1 second. Assistant.
Apparatus assistant, something.
Apparatus?
It's like a little
Something
thing.
like that.
It's like a
It's
precursor
basically what an iPhone is
to-
now. Yeah.
Right. So then Booth notices the possum's just laying there paralyzed on the ground like it's dead. And Brennan says, no, he's not dead. This is what possums do. They play possum. So they lie down. They're dead. They pretend they're dead for like up to 4 hours. They lie there because they're so
know.
stressed out. They're like, oh my God, that's such a stressful experience. So they have to sleep right away. Like, oh, I have to just lie down. She picks it up by its tail and it starts kind of waking up and she puts it back down. Okay. She lets it walk away into the bushes and then she says to Booth, go get the possum. It probably has evidence in its stomach. Like, why did she let it go then?
Mark was watching this with me and he was like, what an idiot. Why would she let that thing go?
And can I tell you, have you seen all these videos about possums and how you should leave them alone and they're really cute and stuff?
No.
Yeah, they're really good for our ecosystem. They eat so many things that are bad and they're perfectly harmless animals and they're really they're are they marsupials? I'm trying to remember if
I
that's
think
what
so.
makes them unique. They're not rodents. Are possums? I can't spell. Possums, marsupials. Marsupials.
They are
Opossum.
marsupials. You are correct.
Anyway, they're an interesting, very unique animal that are really great for our ecosystem, and they're far better and cleaner than a raccoon. So you should be nice to them. Okay.
The opossum is possibly the most harmless, helpful urban creature of them all. I like it.
I love that Booth too, when he sees the possum lying there, he's like, oh, I figured it out. He ate the body that was poisoned and he died. Like he's solving a crime. I love you have to tell me the writer again, because it was really funny. Oh my God.
I wonder, do we remember who? It was written by Lila Oliver. I can't remember which one. She did Santa and the Slush, I think.
The
Okay.
one where they had to smell the Santa's bums.
Yes. Okay, and then we have our opening credits. Do 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 do. Bow bow bow. Da 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 da. Have you watched the new Law and Order Toronto?
Have
Me neither.
you?
No, I don't want to. But
No,
I
I
keep
stopped.
reading these headlines. I keep reading are hilarious. They're like, it's like Law and Order Toronto is confusing Toronto residents because the Toronto police are actually solving crime. Well, did you hear about the police officer that just told people, like, it's a City of Toronto police officer that just told people that the best way to prevent a violent home invasion
Uh-huh.
is to just put your keys to your car by the front door. So that these people, they don't need to, like, they can access it through their, like, device through the wall, and they don't have to come into your house to get your key.
Oh my God.
So people are making, I keep seeing these things on Instagram that people are like pouring a coffee, like making a little like appetizer and then putting their
Putting
keys
it
on
out
it
for
and
the
bring it out to
for
their
the
car.
thief?
Yeah.
Here, have a sandwich.
There you go. Just in case you're hungry. If you're
Are
gonna be
you
working late through
hungry?
the night, here's some coffee.
Yes. You're working hard, stealing cars and stripping them. Oh, poor baby. Oh my God, that's insane.
It's so bad. Well, I think that car theft is a really big problem in the city right now.
Who knew?
I don't know.
Well, anyway, on that
May as
note,
well.
back at the lab. Back at the lab.
Yes. Back at the lab. What's happening?
Oh, we have our new intern, Mr.
Starrett?
Starrett. Thank
Starrett?
you.
Starrett?
He tells us the victim was between 35 and 40, 5 foot something, was killed somewhere else and dumped where he was found. And that there's some kind of like markings on the throat that would indicate a cause of death. Next, we cut quickly to a scene of Hodgins looking through a microscope, and he just says bull penis out loud. Sweets is creeping around Hodgins's desk, and Hodgins looks up from the microscope and he goes like, what do you want? What are you doing here? What's going on? And then Sweets is so funny. He looks at Hodgins, he goes, oh, maybe I'm a dupe for the government and I'm gonna, he's like basically being hilarious and sarcastic about how he's like part of this huge conspiracy. And then Hodgins goes, yeah, dupe, you're right, you're a dupe for sure, but who cares about the conspiracy? And then he says that the bull penis he found in the microscope is freeze dried. I knew exactly what this was when I heard it.
Because you're a dog owner.
Because I'm
Yeah.
a dog person. Exactly. And then Lance is very like looking at Hodgins going, Hodgins, if you need to talk to someone, you know where to find me. And then Hodgins says, yeah, no, I don't have a problem finding you. You're always around. I'm trying to get rid of you. Like, go away. He just wants to be
Like,
left
please
alone.
stop bothering me.
So I'm assuming at this point, Lance is talking about this breakup between him and Angela. And if you're right, if this episode was supposed to have aired 2 episodes after Zach was found to be Gormagon's assistant, apprentice, whatever.
Yeah.
Then he would probably want to go talk to everybody about the situation, right?
That's what I was thinking, because when I found out when the episode was meant to air, like the ordering, I was thinking that they played it off by that they added Angela into the mix. But I think it's probably meant to just be, what a beautiful
I'm just
display you have
welcoming
going on
anybody
behind
who
you.
watches the video. I just want to welcome everyone to the. I'm being real. I'm being as real as this is as real as it gets. This is my dump of a 3rd floor office.
I love it. Don't look behind me. I have my laundry folding table, except it's Wayne's clothes that I haven't folded in like 6 months.
Listen, baby clothes are the
So-
worst. Don't even get me fucking started. I had to fucking
So-
put socks together the other day for one of my clients, and I was going to murder someone. And there was maybe like, what, 10 pairs? But oh my God, I wanted to
But
die.
it's so
I
many.
can't stand it. I can't stand
I
it.
have,
They're
like-
like small, and you're like, oh my God, hey,
And there's
hey, go away.
always ones that don't match up, and you're like, how is this
Oh!
possible?
What the fuck?
Where
Like,
did
where
they
do
go? Where'd they go? Anyway,
Anyway.
I got a little distracted, but yes.
Mm.
We have a weird situation. I think they're throwing Angela into the mix, like the breakup into the mix. But I think the original intention of the episode is to check in because of Zach.
Of Zach, yes.
Yeah. So we end up in Angela's office, and she's using her computer to model what this face would have looked like. And the new intern is there with Cam. And basically, Angela was only able to recreate the skull so much because it was so badly mangled. But she was able to narrow it down based on the markers. She thinks that it's one of 3 people. So she goes through these 3 people, and the final guy is a veterinarian. He's 37 years old. His name is Dr. Seth Elliott. And the new intern thinks, yep, slam dunk, that it has to be the guy based on his height, based on his age, etc. This is for sure our victim.
Yes.
Apparently he had 14 guinea pigs,
We learned,
7 dogs.
Right. The
This guy is
intern
wild.
says the bull penis is used as a dog training treat. It's a tool to use for
Yeah.
training dogs. And he tells them all about, the 4 kids. He had all these animals, blah, blah, blah. So he has all this experience. Now, I'm just trying to see if this is where Cam says it or not. Ah,
That he's middle-aged and
Angela,
has held multiple
you.
jobs. Yeah.
yes, I was a little bit peeved at this because I'm
Yeah.
a middle-aged woman who has held every job known to man. And Allie, my stepdaughter, constantly reminds me, Kelly, you've worked everywhere. You've done every job. Like, how is this possible? And it's true. Cam says it like it's an annoying thing. I don't know why everyone's annoyed with this guy. Angela's annoyed with him too.
I like him. I think he's providing.
And it's fine.
He's fun.
He
He's
seems
providing
like a nice
insight.
guy.
Yeah. He's providing good insight, and it's because of his life experience and because he's held
Exactly.
multiple jobs that he's able to give this insight. Yeah,
Exactly.
I agree.
You want people like this who
Cam
know what
should
the hell's
step
going
off.
on.
Exactly.
I mean, after the way that Hodgins
This
talks
Hodgins guy.
and behaves in the even last episode and this episode kind of thing, like
Yeah.
the way Hodgins
This
is
episode he
behaving,
doubles down.
and Cam is like being so gracious towards him, and yet she's
Yeah.
annoyed with the intern. Sorry, no.
And the intern is being so nice. I was thinking while I was watching this if part of the reason she's annoyed is because it's not her job to be like babysitting this intern. There should be someone else there because they're supposed to be working under Brennan. So I wonder if it's Brennan's intern. So Brennan should be dealing with him, but Brennan basically stuck this intern with her.
I would cherish. I would love to be working with somebody like this.
It would
'cause
be
like,
fun.
like you could work and like it would be pleasant, and they would tell you stories, and you could just
Exactly, the stories
like, oh, wasn't that
alone.
fun? Would you like a cup of coffee? No problem. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
just like very chill,
very
and
friendly.
just like very friendly, nice.
I agree. It's great. So, speaking of women who are nice, people who are nice, we meet the ex-wife of the victim in the next scene.
Yes.
Who only divorced her husband because he had a serious gambling problem, and she thought that by divorcing him after he lost their house, that would help him wake up and smell the roses and start, I guess, recovering or attempting to recover from this gambling addiction that he was struggling with. That didn't work. So now she just has Karen. Oh no, not Karen.
Okay,
What's the
they're
dog's name?
interviewing Dr. Elliott's
Rando.
ex-wife, And she was all upset because they were working out custody arrangements with Brando. And Brando, this is the funniest scene. How could you not? Okay. She's sitting there and they ask, who's Brando? Is that your child? And then this dog pops out of her purse and Booth says, oh, your cat? And Brenna's like, that's a dog, Booth. And Booth is so nonplussed. He doesn't care about this dog at all.
But
Anyway.
he couldn't keep a straight face this entire scene. I kept rewinding it because he was smirking through the whole thing. He couldn't keep a straight face. And then she starts, the ex-wife starts crying, and Brennan looks at her with absolutely zero sympathy and is just like, can I hold your dog while you cry?
I would say that. Here, let me hold your dog while you cry. I'd be like, give me a doggy. Give me a doggy.
But how do you feel about small dogs?
You know, I was very biased against them for a long time because I've always had huge dogs, like all my life, you know. But I dog sat a couple of dogs like a number of years ago at Christmas time. After my dog died, I did a lot of pet sitting. Like it was just something I had at the house, so I could, you know, if you went away, I could take your cat, I could take your dog, and it was great because I got my animal fix.
Yeah.
So I got these 2 dogs. And their name was Dash. The one was Dash. The other one was Ditto. And they were tiny little. One was like a Bichon Frise. Have you ever heard of those? Bichon Frise?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And he was like this poor dog was so badly groomed. He wasn't groomed at all. He had like long. It was like a long-haired Bichon.
Yeah,
so he looked like a big shaggy white kind of blob. But he was so affectionate and adorable. There's something to be said about these little lap dogs that are just so affectionate and sweet, and
sometimes they're not, though.
Oh, sometimes they're awful. Oh no, believe me, my grandmother had a terrible toy poodle named Tiny. The reason they bought the toy poodle is because my mother had a toy poodle named
Her
Bijou.
name is Tiny.
Bijou was a wonderful toy poodle, but then when my grandfather got this other toy poodle because he liked my mom's, this fucking thing was a tyrant. If you went anywhere near, like you go to say hello to my grandmother, the dog would be like, like bite you and shit. And then I have a client. Oh, can I tell you? I have a client who has this little Chihuahua mix.
Okay.
She's evil. Like this dog is so unpleasant. All over the years, like she would sit in the chair while I was cleaning the house and bark for 45 minutes straight because she was so upset that I was there. She was just mad.
She's and I'm like, get out.
And you can't go towards her. You can't touch her. She wants to bite you. And I tell my client, if this dog bites me, I can't guarantee what I'm going to do. Like I will throw the dog across the room or kick it or something because instinctively I'm going to.
You're going to want to protect yourself. Yeah.
But yeah, there's lots of dogs that are unapproachable, but I like a small, affectionate little guy. Yeah. I do. You?
Yeah, my parents, I grew up with a lot of dogs, so I had 3 dogs growing up. And
you only had one kind.
Only one, not 2 kinds. So one Cavalier King, 2 of them were Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, and the other one was a toy Maltese. And the toy Maltese was like so intense.
Evil incarnate.
Oh yeah. Obsessed with my mom. Like anyone else comes around, just like
yeah.
But
you know whose fault that is? You know whose fault that is?
My mom.
Your mother's. Like my client with this dog that is awful, it's her fault. Because every time the dog would bark or lash out, she'd be like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Whereas everyone else is like, shut up.
The last thing you should do is give them attention.
Definitely.
Go on.
But we had the 2 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels. One was very high energy, very affectionate, but very high energy, like didn't really want to cuddle and sit or anything. But there was the other one, Bentley, who was basically like, he didn't want to do anything. Like running was not his jam. Like he would go on a walk because he had to, but otherwise it was like, ugh. And he just wanted to like cuddle all the time. He just wanted to like be in your lap or like be right beside you. or like at your feet, just like chilling.
Yeah.
He was so like such a sweet dog.
I love dogs so much.
He's so awesome.
Oh,
Anyway,
anyway, we love
let's
Brando.
talk.
Brando's a Pomeranian. We discovered. So we learned from the ex-wife that she doesn't know the bookie's name that Elliot would have dealt with as a gambler, but she thinks that this woman named Karen would know who the bookie is.
Yeah, that makes me so sad. This woman, she really thought that filing for divorce would make him wake up from his gambling addiction, but then he just moved
Well,
on.
that's the mistake of all sort of codependent, addicted, like person married to an addict kind of assumption that, oh, this will make him change. It's like, no,
Yeah,
no. The only
but they
way
have
an
to want it, I
addict,
guess.
yeah, the only way an addict changes is if they choose to, if they want to.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. You can't do it for
man,
them.
I
It's
just
a
felt so
hopeless,
sad for her
frustrating situation. Oh, it's terrible.
because she was like, "Oh, ask Karen," and I was like, "Oh, she clearly still like is in love with this guy."
And who's Karen?
Anyway, Karen is Dr. Elliot's assistant, so at the vet clinic, and this
Mhm.
lady deserves an Academy Award.
I agree.
Her acting was hilarious,
I
but
love her. I
also,
love Karen.
so she was like conveying this character. The actress was conveying these emotions that were like, I'm so sad, but how will I ever go on? How will I ever go on? He was my life. And anyway, so she was aware that he had a gambling problem. She said that they were barely making it. They barely could keep the lights on at this clinic. But Dr. Elliot absolutely loved what he did. These two were hooking up. She was single. He's newly divorced. So obviously they were going to do that. He mainly played online poker. So there is no bookie involved as far as she was aware. The only thing that she could think of is that could even be tied to any sort of crime is that a few weeks ago he caught some guy stealing some drugs, stealing some
It
ketamine.
was not a few
Was
weeks
it
ago.
years?
Yeah.
Okay, so several years ago.
Sorry.
No, it's good. Several years ago, a period of time ago that was lengthy because this guy just got out of jail. Um, Seth tackled this guy who was stealing drugs, and anyway, everyone thought Seth was this big hero because he kept this ketamine stealing person away, and that was about it.
Right.
But
So the guy who he caught stealing the ketamine went to jail for
Yeah,
being a thief.
for stealing.
So there's this thing. But what were
So
we going to
he
say?
might be a potential suspect because they
Possibly.
find out very very soon that he just got out of jail.
Uh-huh.
But Brennan has this whole thing because she uses the word enervating. And like she seems so genuine and she seems like she's like in a lot of pain and like really struggling. And then Brennan is like, yeah, that word doesn't mean what you think it means. So like anyway, sorry. I'm getting
What does
us.
enervate mean? Enervate means cause someone to feel drained of energy or vitality.
So at the end, she's like, I don't know how I'll find the energy to go on. And then Brennan's like that's it. There you go. That's what
the
enervating
word you're
means.
looking for. Exactly.
Oh my God. Anyway,
So next we have Brennan in the car with Booth. She
Yep.
has internet in the car, I guess, because she checked online and found out that this guy who was arrested for stealing the ketamine was named Tucker Payne, and he got out of jail a month ago. While they're in the
That
car,
sounds like a
Brennan
fake
gets
name.
a call from, sorry?
That sounds like a fake name.
Tucker Payne. It's a very like tough name, you know?
Yeah.
So while they're in the car, Brennan gets a call from Cam, who was with Hodgins, and the new intern. Everybody's on speakerphone here. And there's an exchange between Hodgins and Booth where Booth tells Hodgins to watch his tone because he's being a bitch to Brendan because Brendan.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's like Hodgins is on one. He's totally on one in this episode, and it's everybody's on speaker. Hodgins is annoyed with the intern for what he feels is interrupting, and he has this terrible, terrible attitude. Regardless, they figure out that Hodgins found some saliva somewhere on the victim, and it turns out that it's dog saliva. It's dog saliva. It took Booth far too long to figure out what they were saying when they were said the Latin word
Canis lupus.
for dog. That's like everybody knows Canis lupus. That's like a widely known thing. There's a
I
couple
thought so
things like
too.
how weird he is about dogs. I find this whole episode with Booth and the way he reacts to all these dogs is interesting.
That and just like starting from the very beginning, him not knowing how a possum plays dead.
Well, there's all kinds
That
of
was weird. I
silly
was like,
things.
what? So they end
So
up
at the end of the call, Cam
Yeah.
says that this is how they decide. Seth Elliott, the vet, was killed by a dog that has teeth that are filed. Was that what you were
Yeah.
going to say? And I interrupted you. I apologize.
No, you're good.
Okay,
That's
go on.
good. That's good.
We've
So yeah,
lost
they're-
our rhythm. We were literally recording a few hours ago. We take a break, and now Brittany and I are not on the same page. I don't know what to do. We're completely
we got
off.
this. We can do it.
Come
We can do
on!
it. Yeah, maybe I'm
Okay.
thirsty. I'm gonna drink more water.
Drink some
So-
fucking water.
Drink some fucking water and open my ears.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
So we meet
Oh,
Tucker
God.
Payne, who is the drug dealer. Well, we find out he's a drug dealer, but he's the guy who was trying to steal those drugs. And we
Okay.
find out that he was high as a kite, and that is why a vet was able to take him down, basically.
Yeah.
He has brought his dog, whose name is
Yep.
Shotzi.
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 What?
And Shotzi is a pit bull, which means
No.
Shotzi means treasure in German.
She's not
Yeah.
really a pit bull.
I think so.
She's more like a mastiff, a bull mastiff.
Okay.
A
Well,
little
she's
bit.
huge with
She's
a
a
lot
big
of
girl.
muscles.
Yeah.
And so Booth is not having any of this. He seems very sure that this guy was involved in the vet's murder. And that's how he approaches his whole conversation with him, I thought. So he doesn't have a weapon, but he does file his dog's teeth down as a way to protect himself as he goes about his drug dealing business. So basically they want to look at this dog's teeth, Shotzi's teeth, and make sure that his specific teeth marks or the profile of his teeth do not match
Yeah.
the dog that bit or killed our victim. So
Did you
which is
already say
so
that they had a
interesting.
warrant for the dog?
I didn't mention it, but they did have a warrant for the dog. That's why
And I
they
just-
asked him to bring the dog. I thought that was hilarious.
Right. I also thought it was funny. Tucker's like, man, I'm a drug dealer. I got to have every weapon available to me. Like, I can't,
Yeah.
that's why I file his teeth. Plus, the way Tucker goes, you got a warrant for take my dog away? He goes, that's so cold. That's cold.
The
And he's
scene was so
right.
awesome. Yeah.
It's terrible. I'm feeling, oh no, my dog. Don't take my dog.
But also I didn't realize that filing a dog's teeth is even a thing. So they're filed
No.
into these sharp, super sharp points.
Yeah. So
Which
when they
is
bite, they pierce.
Crazy.
They pierce
Yeah.
a lot easier. Yeah.
That's insane. I did not
I
realize that
agree.
was a thing.
I agree. So they're back at
But
the lab.
anyway, back at the lab.
and They're checking out Shotzi. Shotzi's on the platform in a kennel. And there's probably swabbing it for like maybe DNA on the saliva. I don't know. My question is, why couldn't a squint have gone to the interrogation room and swabbed this dog's saliva or something? I don't know. Like, it can't be this difficult. They're bringing all the dogs to the lab. It's very, very strange.
Are they
Um,
making a mold of his teeth Did they do that? Or did
No,
they just
what
make a mold based on
happened?
the...
Yeah, so Mr. Starrett made a reverse engineered a mold based on the piercing, like the puncture wounds that were in uh Elliot's bone, his esophagus, I guess.
Yeah,
And it was a very specific, like there's a crack in the tooth and there's this tooth missing. So it's a very specific kind of, it's like your own
like a very...
denture.
Yeah,
What's that called? Your mold of your own dentures, of your
yeah,
own teeth would be unique to you. It's
yeah.
how they identify people. Why wouldn't they identify a dog? Anyway, this dog is just cute.
So cute. I'm
And
sure that it's supposed to be like vicious, but it's very cute.
listen, all the dogs, I love the dogs on this show. Anyway, the dog starts barking and the intern turns around and starts making commands at it in German. And it turns out like that's how he gives commands is in German. And Cam's like, ooh, terrifying. Anyway, I just love.
I love that the intern knows German. Like, this intern is full of
I
surprises. He knows everything.
just love it. So what? Cam gets a phone call from
Hodgins,
Hodgins.
who is in a shit mood, as
Oh
always.
my God. Oh my God.
So I guess Booth had sent him down there just to make sure that whatever the FBI guys found that he agreed with that. So he's going through the car and there's apparently huge gobs of dried blood all over this vet's car that they found. And they're thinking based on, and this intern has also experience as a vet's assistant, so he was saying that there's no way that would be from his job, his role as a vet, because they would have been extremely careful with blood. So more than likely this guy was killed, his body was transported with his vehicle, the body was dumped, and then the vehicle was dumped, which is crazy. Anyway, in the vehicle, they find this bottle. Yes, this prescription bottle. Yes, Kelly.
I just want to tell everybody that I'm so happy because in this scene, we have my friend, my favorite forensic investigator, Greenman, who has no name.
No name.
Greenman is the name of the actor who plays this character. And Hodges is being so fucking rude to this guy.
Oh, so bad.
And Greenman is just like, he hates Hodgins right now.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Can I just say, I was at a meeting today and this guy said, everyone has a different experience of you everywhere you go. And you can be the person who's really rude to this person and then also be very helpful to another person. So if you ask different people what they think of you, it depends on what they associate you with, like their last interaction with you. So it's just, Greenman hates Hodgins like so much. I think, he just hates Hodgins because Hodgins is being a dick. Anyway, go on.
Because he's always a dick to him. So
pretty much.
He's talking to Cam and he's being such a dick because this Starrett guy's on the other end. He was explaining to him why he knows all about this antibiotic that's in this car, which is a very basic antibiotic. It's just erythromycin. It's not exactly like something crazy, so it's not rocket science that he knows what this would be.
Right.
But anyway, so he says, "Oh yeah, we got to track this guy down, whatever." And Hodgins is like, "Wow, that is an absolutely wonderful idea that only you could have sprung."
What a dick. I hate it when people do that.
And he's just such a dick and refers to his car experience. And then our FBI forensic guy pops up and is like, "Man, I feel a lot better. You just treat everyone like shit."
That was that's my favorite line. Oh, good. It's not just me. You just treat everybody really badly. Like, it's like a relief,
I think I know who Kelly's King of the Lab is going to be this episode.
No, there's lots of kings here. I'm sorry, but there's lots.
Are you allowed to have non-human kings?
That's what I was just thinking about.
Okay, well, do you want to talk about so they yes, do you want to
I
talk about
do.
us visiting
I do.
this place
So
with the famous
now
actor?
they've identified, obviously, the name on the prescription bottle they found in the vet's car is Donald Timmons. So they search up Donald Timmons. Booth and Brennan arrive at a scrapyard. It just looks like a scrapyard.
Yeah.
And it's being guarded by dogs. One in particular is this gorgeous chestnut colored pit bull with the clipped ears and sort of a white marking on their chest, I think. And it's a beautiful, beautiful dog. And Booth's
That
sitting
is
in the Hmm?
sorry, that is literally the most muscular dog I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, that's the least of it. There's so many more. This dog is like barking, barking. This another dog is not quite as intimidating. Anyway, Booth is in the car with Brennan and he won't get out of the car. And she's like, "You're scared of the dogs, aren't you?" He's like, "No, no, it's more polite to wait in the car. You're gonna wait for them to come to you." And it's just so funny. It reminds me of my dad who always said, like he said, adults aren't afraid of things. They just say they don't like things. Like they don't say, "I'm scared of that." They go, "I'm not afraid of bats. I just don't like bats." It's not He's like, never admit you're scared of anything. Anyway, it's really funny
That's
because they have
amazing
this
advice.
conversation in the car about Parker again, because Booth's like worried about Parker because he had a nightmare about a singing frog. And then she tries to reassure him. This is so funny to me. She tells him, sorry.
About Russ?
Yes, she tells him, "Oh, Parker's gonna be fine. I was fine. I saw a dead body. I was fine." But you know what's really funny? After I saw a dead body, I started like setting up death scenes, like I was dying or dead. Like I would like die in the bathtub, or I would die over here, or I would like fall off a thing and break my neck,
Or be hanging.
or I was hanging. And Russ found me hanging one day and he had to go to a psychologist after that. Like it was so and Bruce goes, "But you turned out okay."
But everything was fine otherwise, right?
Oh my god. I thought that was I'm sorry, but the writing was so good. I thought it was so
It was so good.
funny.
And then he's like,
Uh,
"Do you dream about bananas a lot?"
Do you dream about bananas? And she says, "No, why?" Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's so funny. And then we immediately go into a very serious scene where finally these people realize that there are FBI agents approaching their house. So these two guys come out, and one of them is none other than
This wonderful person who plays Don Timmons is the guy who played Hank on Breaking Bad. His name is Dean something. Dean Stockwell?
Dean. Oh my god, famous last name. Norris. Dean Norris.
Dean Norris. Okay. Anyway, he literally when did Breaking Bad start? 2008, you said.
I think Breaking Bad started just after this. I think he got his break on Breaking Bad
What happened?
right after. Oh,
Hold on.
can you hear me now?
Yes, go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think he got his break on Breaking Bad immediately after this.
Wow, because he looks exactly the same.
Yeah. Let's see when
Dean Norris.
Let's see when it aired. It aired. Oh no, sorry. Breaking Bad premiered on January 20th, 2008. So this actually was 9 months after or 8 months after.
Yeah, but they would have filmed it before. So
yeah. So maybe around the same time.
Wow. Wow.
Actually, when his first episode on Breaking Bad isn't until later anyway.
Yeah, I don't think he comes in. You're right, because he plays the brother-in-law. Oh, what a great character. Hank is a great character.
Such a good character.
Oh my god. I just want to say, before you get into this interaction between Don Timmons and Booth and Brennan and other things, and I'm going to continue to say, These dogs are beautiful. I can't get over this dog.
They are.
This pit bull is absolutely gorgeous.
They really are.
What's the
Also,
dog's name? What's the pit bull's name?
The pit bull's name, isn't it?
It's Gladys.
Gladys. I was gonna say Eleanor.
Yeah.
I knew it was like an old lady name. Did you
What
know
were you gonna
that?
say?
Did you know that this is completely irrelevant? But did you know that
Okay.
Dean Norris went to Harvard?
I believe it.
Huh.
He seems like a smart guy.
Yeah. That's
Is
pretty
he a
cool.
conservative though? Is he going to get canceled? Oh no.
Personal life. Let's find out. Probably.
Let's find out.
It doesn't say. Maybe he's
He
one of those
carries a
smart.
gun.
Oh no, political party Democrat.
Okay, phew. Phew.
So
He's
he
only
was
60.
in a
He's still
show.
young.
There was a show called, or there's a book by Stephen King called Under the Dome that was made
Okay.
into a show.
Yes.
And I love everything that Dean Norris does except for that show. That book was so good, and they just
You're not
butchered it with
alone.
that show.
Didn't it get canceled or something?
It got canceled. It was terrible. Anyway, okay, let's go back.
Okay.
So this guy, Don Timmons, he is with his son, and basically the prescription says Don Timmons. It says that it's his, but it's actually for his son. His son has aged out of the insurance, and it's just too expensive to have his own plan, but he needs the medication. So he got it under his own name, and then
I'm sorry. Dean Norris has 5 children. That's so many kids. Anyway.
that is
go
a
on.
lot of kids
A
with
lot of
one
kids.
spouse. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So anyway, so they're trying to find out. They end up driving off. It seems like Don puts a lot of pressure on his son Robbie, saying like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna go to medical school." Meanwhile, this kid is saying like, because they're asking, "Okay, what's your alibi? Were you in the vet's car? When were you last in the vet's car? Why were you in the vet's car? And when did you last see him?" So he's giving his alibi, saying that he's been trying to get his GED, and he was at his tutor's house working on it. And then his dad is like, "Yeah, my son's gonna go to medical school. He's gonna do so great." And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, good for him. I hope that he does go to medical school, but like this poor guy has having to start from scratch. Like there's a lot of school that has to happen between your GED and medical
man.
school.
Don't knock it, because I saw a woman today. She spoke. She came from a horrible childhood, horrible background, terrible traumatic past, worked her way up on Wall Street, lost it all, becoming a drunk and a crack addict, ended
Oh my
up
God.
living on the streets, got sober, and put herself through school, went to university, and now she's a lawyer. She's in her 70s now.
Wow. Good for her.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Can't knock it. She went back to school at age 43.
Wow.
Became a lawyer.
That's unbelievable.
Crazy.
That's very inspiring.
Yeah, but is anyone in their 50s doing that? Because I'm 51. It almost made me feel like I should go to school.
Almost. I don't know how, like, school in my 20s was tiring. I couldn't imagine going back to school now. I feel
I
like
think you have a different motivation, different intentions, different different priorities, right? Like,
yeah, oh for sure.
You'd be probably study more intensely and be able to like really
Yeah.
compartmentalize and stuff, and
Definitely.
maybe
I
do
think
it
that's
over
true.
time. You know, it's not so school. You'd like work and then you have a class. You know, it's just like one at a
Well,
time, one
you
step
have the
at a time.
capacity. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you're older and more mature, so you know
Yeah, you don't
how
waste
to
any
study
time.
better. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's true. Well,
And
the most
ask for
important
help.
takeaway. Yeah,
Mhm.
and when to ask for help, yeah. Instead of being
Mhm.
stubborn. So, the most important takeaway from this scene is that Gladys, not Eleanor, Gladys, our lovely, scary looking dog, does not appear to have sharpened teeth. I don't think. They seem to be having a little bit of trouble figuring that out. But anyway, she ends up playing with this squeaky toy. Brendan's obsessed with the dog. This dog is very cute.
She loves the dog. Oh my god.
Loves the dog.
She's playing fetch with the dog with the squeaky toy, and while she's doing it, she looked at her teeth and said they're not filed back. So she was able to look at her teeth. It's so cute. Oh my god, I love her.
It's a pretty cute dog. I'm not gonna lie.
Mm.
Okay, we're back at the lab.
Back at the lab.
Back at the lab, and Sweets is still stalking Hodgins, who then calls Cam because he has something to show her, in quotes, but really he just doesn't want to talk to Sweets anymore. And Cam is pissed. She's like, this is not a good use of your boss, Hodgins. You need to talk to Sweets. I'm like, don't bring me into it.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't think we need to go out and talk about all the small details of their conversation, but it's just more of him showing him that he appears to have completely abandoned his paranoia and all these conspiracy theories that he's usually loving to talk about. So
Well,
he's a little bit worried.
Is this where Sweets is worried about Hodgins because he's like not as well groomed as he normally is as well?
Yeah.
Like he's not clean shaven and like kind of tidied up. He's looking a little disheveled.
And Hodgins is like, okay, what's the problem here? I'm being less vain. That has to be a good thing. And I also am not being paranoid and talking about conspiracy theories all the time. Isn't that a good thing as well? And Sweets is like, I don't think these are good things for you.
Right. And then Sweets is like, you got to talk to somebody. It doesn't have to be me, but you got to talk to somebody. And in this interim, have you already said that he called Cam to come to his desk because he had evidence or something? So then Sweets leaves and Cam's like, okay, what's up? And he makes up some bullshit. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what it's about either. I just wanted you to come over so Sweets would go away. And Cam
is like, not a good use for your boss, mister.
She should
what
fire
the hell?
him.
She should
be fired.
100%.
Yeah.
And then we end up in Angela's office. She's at her computer, and Booth and Brenner are taking a look. And honestly, it's pretty horrible. So they had found this flash drive. So they're going through. I think so. Or no, not the flash drive. It's called the PDA. So they're looking through the PDA.
This is where we met Don's son's tutor. When do we meet him?
Did I skip ahead? No, I skipped ahead. You're right.
I apologize.
We meet the tutor first. No, I'm skipping ahead. We meet the tutor first, which is an important interaction.
Yes.
Reverse.
So what happens is Timmons' son, who I can't remember his name,
Robbie.
He had a tutor. Who?
Robbie.
Oh, Robbie Timmons. He has a tutor to get his GED, and this guy, Hop, is his tutor. And he came in to like prove or sort of corroborate Robbie's alibi of being with him on the night that Elliot died.
Yeah.
So he pulls out of his knapsack a piece of paper with like, these are the times we met. And along with this piece of paper, he pulls out this little pillow and it has little stitches on it. And Booth makes some snide remark about, oh, what are you doing? Needlepoint? And then Brennan's like, no, he's practicing suturing. That's what like pre-med people do. They practice stitching. And Booth is
too much.
It's so funny. Oh, you a needlepoint? It's like, what if he does, Booth? Jeez.
That's allowed?
Yeah. What's next?
Oh my god.
I'm just stretching my legs.
Okay, I was like, is someone talking to you?
No. I'm walking around now.
Yeah, no problem. So
my
he basically, they're asking him specifically, they go on to ask him specifically about the victim. And he's saying, well, I was raised not to speak ill of the dead, but yeah, he was a meth addict, I think, and maybe he was tweaking last time I saw him. Which this is the first that we're hearing about that. We know that he had
Exactly.
this gambling addiction, but no one had made any mention of any drugs being found
No.
in his system.
Yeah, nothing in the talk screen, right?
Yeah. So that seems like a bit of a red flag to me that he's saying that, but anyway, so he just thought that Seth Elliott was not the best role model for Robbie, and that's basically it. Hop was very excited to be at the Jeffersonian.
Yep.
But he was there for like, I don't know, 1 minute. He was there and then an alarm went off and he's like, oh shit, I gotta go to class. Okay, bye. I was like,
Mhm.
what just happened? Okay, now Angela is with Booth and Brennan in her
Yeah.
office. And
Yeah.
on that PDA device, I don't know if that's
Mhm.
redundant to say PDA device, but on the PDA, she has found indications. She's found a file that has a bunch of pictures of dogfighting in it. And they were time stamped on the date of his death. So they're starting to think that maybe this might be associated with the place they just were because they see Gladys's ball
Mhm.
that she had been throwing around with Gladys.
Right.
So the ball could be enough just to be able to get a warrant, but
Yeah. So Booth's
we'll
gonna
see.
try to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Meanwhile, the whole time she's like, I'm done with this job. I'm gonna be an art dealer in Dubai. Fuck this
Angela,
job.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to deal with this. I cannot believe
She's
I'm having to
complaining
look
because
at
she has to
pictures of
look at these
dogfighting.
photographs. She has
Yeah.
no problem watching underage sex tapes, but dogfights she can't handle.
Dogfights is a no.
Anyway, right after this scene, we have Booth, who barges into Sweet's office. We start the scene with Sweets sitting at his desk, slowly stroking the keys on his keyboard. It looked so fake. Whatever the hell he was doing looked like the fakest typing I've ever seen in my life. And then Booth barges into his office, didn't even knock, I don't think, brings in
No.
his son Parker in tow. He's like, hey, how's it going, Sweets? And he is Sweets is pissed. He's been completely inconvenienced. It's terrible just to show up this without even calling ahead or making an appointment. And I just want to say, I think I love this kid. This kid is cracking me up because Parker, Booth wants Sweets to talk to Parker because Parker's having problems. He thinks he's having problems, having nightmares, whatever. And then Parker looks up at his dad as Booth is covering Parker's ears. And Parker looks up at his dad and goes, he doesn't look like a baby's bum. Like, anyway, he's just like making all these comments. That's really, 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 really funny. And then they're talking. Booth and Sweets are talking while Booth has Parker's ears covered. And Parker's like, I can still hear you, right? Like, it's so funny the way this kid's just like, whatever, man. And then Booth takes off because he wants to get the warrant for the dog ball, the squeaky toy. And then Parker's like, hey, Sweets, are you my babysitter now? And Sweets like, yeah, apparently, yes, I am your babysitter. It was just like really funny. You're muted, darling.
The actor stays at the show all the way through, which is really wonderful. It's a pretty special treat. Parker is a great character.
Is he a good character? Because I have high hopes now. This kid cracks me up.
He's pretty funny. Okay, here we go.
Yes.
The judge
Back at the
does
lab.
not like back of the lab. The judge does not like Gladys's ball as the warrant provider. It's not enough to get a warrant.
Right.
So they gotta go back to square one, they think. Except maybe they don't, because Hodgins had found some antifungal treatment that was used on AstroTurf.
Mhm.
And he's like, but maybe it's not a link to dogfighting. And then Angela barges in and is like, yeah, no, it totally does.
Mhm.
It does link that to dogfighting, because come and look at these disgusting pictures of all these dogs that clearly have major fungal infections in their mouths. And also pictures of the AstroTurf.
Yeah, so they fought on
So-
AstroTurf. But this is not before Hodgins sarcastically says to Cam when she can't get the warrant for the dog toy, "Oh, well, I guess, end of the case. I guess we'll have to move on to another case then." He's like being such a dick.
Such a dick. It's
Yeah,
like
so
unbelievable.
Angela points out that the dogs fight on AstroTurf.
Yeah.
And if they can find deliveries of the specific type of antifungal stuff that they're
Yeah.
spreading around, then
Yep.
maybe they could have a warrant to search the property. And so Hodgins says to Angela in this moment, "You are a genius." And then Angela immediately says, "No, you're a genius." And then they look at each other and then they remember they're not together anymore.
Yeah. Which, okay, again, putting on this was filmed only, in theory, only 2 episodes after Zach. I feel like that scene, maybe they didn't even need to reshoot it because it could have been that they're like still in that such a negative place from what happened with Zach.
So you don't think this was supposed to be after the breakup?
No,
No, it is because didn't they have really?
it is after the breakup, but it was not supposed to be. It's supposed to be 2 episodes before the breakup.
Huh. That's weird. Because I
But
was
the way-
thinking
Sorry,
the
no,
way
go on.
what?
But
No,
the
I
way
was
he
just
goes
thinking
on
like
at one point. Anyway, go on. we're
Look
killing
at
it
us.
tonight.
We are dying. The way that happened made me think like, oh, okay, so you broke up and now you can't compliment each other. Like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
Anyway, what were you gonna
Well,
say?
he does go on in another scene to talk about the breakup, so my theory is maybe a moot point, but
Who knows?
I was just thinking at the time, I was like, maybe this is more like they're in like a bad place because of what happened to Zach, but anyways, I don't know.
Or we'll just have to get David on and ask him.
We'll have to just ask him that and about his cocky belt.
Cocky belt buckle. And what was I going to ask him? About his Slovenian heritage.
Yes.
I bet you
Yep.
if we got Greg on here, he could find a way that he
Probably. He's probably
knows
like
somebody.
a Dolenc third removed or something.
Well, not just that, but Greg is like 3 people removed from like he's like 3 degrees removed from most people that he meets in the whole world. Like he just everywhere he goes, he can find a connection within 3 people.
Really?
How he knows them? Oh no, often less than that. He'll like, oh yeah, I knew this person. Like he worked with that guy, or he knows a guy who knew
That's
his father.
crazy.
Or like everywhere he goes, he's able to connect people. It's insane. It's insane.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I bet you David Boreanaz has a relative that knows somebody that he knows. Anyway, I just have this.
Probably.
I know it. I know it would
That's
happen.
crazy. That's so cool.
Anyway.
Okay. So
Next.
I want you to talk about this because I know that you know who this person is and I do not, but Mark did.
You don't know who this is?
I don't know who this person is.
Oh my God.
So that's why I want you to talk about this scene because I feel like I'm not going to do it proper justice.
Okay, so next, Booth and Brennan show up at the Timmons' scrapyard. They're joined by none other than the famous dog whisperer, Cesar Millan. Okay? The mini Mexican magician that is amazing. Amazing. Is he Mexican? Damn, I hope so. Anyway,
I hope so.
Cesar Millan is a very famous, very rich dog trainer. He was made famous by none other than Oprah Winfrey. He was introduced to the world through Oprah. And he, when I got my dog Tiki, the one I have now, I don't use any of these techniques, by the way.
Okay.
Because Tiki was reactive because he would get into fights and he would just constantly, he was so insecure.
Yeah.
And such a tough guy that he'd want to like always beat everybody. I had to learn how to control him. And Cesar Millan has specific ways that he controls his dogs. And he's very, very gifted. There are some people, and I've talked about this in the past, some people are just very gifted and are able to communicate with animals differently,
Yeah.
But he has this way that he goes, shh, 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 And then he also does this thing where he'll kind of pinch them sometimes, like pinch, pinch, to make them stop, like to make them kind of stop what they're doing and make them stop, whatever they're doing. He'll pinch and they'll stop. And they're like, "What? What are you doing?" But he does this shh, 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 with his hands and stuff, and it's like a
Yeah.
very interesting kind of vocal technique that he does, and it works very well, very well. When you want to control and discipline a dog and all that.
Yeah.
But over time, I found other ways to handle Tiki.
Okay.
I found ways to make him feel more confident. I didn't put him in situations that would produce any kind of anxiety. I would,
Okay.
not go out of my way to take him to dog parks and be around other dogs. I would like walk, you know what I mean? There's other
Yeah.
things you can do. But Caesar Milan is like rich, rich, rich. I don't even know how much he costs an hour to train your dog. And he has a ton of dogs. And I think personally, we're going to meet some dogs in this episode. And I think every single one of those dogs is his dog.
Really?
Yes, I think
His
so. He has
net
a
worth
lot.
is $20 million, by the way.
Really?
That's the estimated amount per Google.
You ever see that show, Somebody Feed Phil?
Yeah.
He's worth $200 million.
Somebody feed
Phil. He's worth
Somebody-
$200 million.
200, but he wrote and produced Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yes.
That's like
Yes.
comedy gold.
Yes.
Oh, I want to rewatch that. Mark and I love Everybody Feed Phil. That
Yes.
show is so heartwarming.
Somebody Feed
It is
Phil.
so wonderful. Or Somebody Feed Phil. Sorry, Everybody Feed Phil. Everybody Feed Phil. Everybody loves Phil.
I do like it too, but there's part of me that feels like I watched an episode with him going through Mumbai in India.
Okay.
And I was like, well, it's easy for you. You're white, you're tall, you have a whole TV crew with you. Like, of course you feel safe. Of course everything's wonderful. Of course everybody's nice to you.
Yeah.
If I'm like a woman traveling alone in India, am I going to have that same experience?
Yeah, that's
Probably
true.
not. Plus,
Yeah,
he's a
probably
rich
not.
white guy. He's a rich American white guy.
True.
And part of me is kind of like, something was pointed out to me, like this woman said, why do I want to watch another old white man going around
Yeah.
eating stuff? Like, what's the big deal?
But he has all these guests and stuff, which I think is kind of cool. He brings his family
I like
on.
the food. I like the food.
The food is amazing. His reaction to the food is hilarious. I
Yeah.
do really like him.
I just got a little bit like, I got a little tired of he sat down with Peter, was it Buttigieg or something? One of these American senators.
Okay.
Who is a notoriously awful man. Like, he's an awful man.
Oh, really?
And I just think, like, okay. He's like, Phil's just trying to bridge the gap and be all like, oh, everybody get along and isn't it
Yeah.
great? And it's like, okay, but he's simplifying things for the general American public. I realize what he's doing.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, at the end of the day, what are we doing here?
Fair.
I don't know. You have to take everything with a grain of salt, man. Nothing is real. Everything's like being sold to you in a way that's like, it's to placate and make you feel okay and safe and all this stuff, when it's like, don't look over here where there's horrible things going on. Look at this nice, easy, no stakes kind of situation. It's just like, there's real shit going on in the world right now that we really need to do something about, So that's where I'm kind of over a lot of that stuff, that feel good kind of, can't we just all get along? It's like, it's not that easy.
I do like to feel good.
I agree. That's why this show, Bones, was invented. So we don't have to.
That's true.
This is fun.
I agree. It's fun. It's police procedural, which is nice.
Anyway,
okay.
So what
does Caesar Milan
Caesar's
do?
Wonderful. They're searching the property. I think Booth's a little bit jealous of Caesar Milan a little bit, like, because Brennan is so excited to meet him. She's like so excited. They start searching the premises, and Brennan finds a very small grave site that has dog bones in it. She's really upset about it. Brennan, the next scene, digs up all these dog bones. They're sifting through things, and Booth reassures her that they're going to go through the evidence they find, like betting slips and things, and try to connect everything, all the evidence to take people down that are involved in the dogfighting ring. And then Caesar comes out to fetch Booth and Brennan to show them the dog ring where the dogs fight. And then Booth says, "Did you find any dogs?" And Caesar goes, "Yep." And he opens this barn door, and there's like, what, 10, 15, 12 dogs tied up
At
in
least
this room,
like
barking.
maybe 20, like 10 on each side.
Yeah, tons of dogs. Tons of dogs. They're all barking, and they look very vicious, and they have big leather collars on. And then Caesar does his dog whispering. He goes, psh, psh, he makes them all lie down, and they're all beautiful little creatures. And when he manages to get them all quieted down, there's this one dog. You can see him like right there. It's like a white kind of pit bull mix, and his tail is just wagging. He's wagging his tail. He's like so excited.
It's like, this is the best
so
day ever.
Cute. He's so cute. Anyway,
the dogs are all so cute. It's so sad.
I
But
want to touch them all.
they're quite adorable. But
Yes.
so at this point, obviously, Booth brings Don Timmons in immediately to the FBI to interrogate him. And this guy is so smug. He is like, he thinks he has every base covered. He has a lease agreement with a number company. He's like, oh, I don't even use that area of my property. That's rented out. I don't even know what's going on there. I certainly wouldn't be part of a dog fighting ring, that's for sure. And so when this happened, he actually does have a pretty good alibi because he's a driller. So he was actually away when the victim was killed at a seminar in Chicago. So he has the receipts to prove it. He has eyewitnesses, etc. So even though this dogfighting ring happened on his property, it really truly doesn't look like he was involved, which is odd. Whenever I see these big famous actors, I always think, I'm like, oh, they did it immediately. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there we go. They did it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's funny how Don Timmons is like denying all this, even though it has all this evidence stacked up against him,
Yeah.
and yet he was fully taking responsibility for insurance fraud when he was filling out his son's prescriptions under his name.
That's true. Different time.
So what do we go? Back at the lab, we have every dog is in a dog kennel in the middle of the lab, which is crazy to me. I've already talked about why can't they have Squints do this on the premises, but then what are they going to do with the dogs? Anyway, Brendan's working with Cesar Millan with all these dogs to make them calm down so that they can check out their teeth. All of these dogs are so compliant and very well behaved. And she pretty quickly finds the dog, or identifies the dog with this cracked tooth that has a specific mold. And it's an adorable kind of shepherd lab mix with a long nose and a brindle coat. And she's just the sweetest little puppy.
She's so beautiful. She's
Just
so
a good
cute.
Portia. And then, Caesar feels bad. He's like, I'm really sorry. He felt so bad about the dog. And the dog's lying there like, with his head down.
Yeah,
and
it
he's
was
being
so sad.
Sweet. It gets worse, guys. It gets worse.
It gets so much worse. Anyway, but it gets better before it gets worse. So here we have Hodgins and Starrett, the new intern. They're chatting. They're sitting at this exam table and they're doing their own thing. And Hodgins says, like, hey, like, what the hell, man? And rips into him about the car again. And this guy, because he's mature, turns to him and is like, buddy, you need to like take a step back and realize it's been a very long time since this happened, and you need to maybe talk to someone. And then Hodgins is like, holy shit, you're right. You know what? I am out of line. I've just had a really hard time lately. And then he starts unloading on this guy. And he says, oh, like, I don't think I'm the person to talk to, which Hodgins gets the wrong impression at first, but it's because he's about to, like, this is the last time we're going to see this guy, it seems. He's going to go out on a dig tomorrow, so he's not all that useful to give him advice, ongoing advice, when he's going to be gone. That might be the best person. Anyway, yes.
I just wanted to mention to our listeners that Brittany's eyes are like two pea holes in the snow. She's barely awake during this
I'm so
recording. I
tired.
can tell you're slurring your words. It's so
No,
funny.
I'm
I can
not.
always tell. You're like, and then Hodgins is like, unloading on him and telling him all this stuff. Anyway, it's really funny. Let's race through. Next.
Okay.
During this time.
But did you think he was out of line, though?
Hodgins, yes, because he was
Yeah.
about to fucking unleash on him when Starrett told Hodgins to get his shit together. It was a long time ago. Let it go. And then Hodgins got almost really like aggressive, like he was going to hit the guy. And then Starrett looks at Hodgins like, what the hell are you doing? And Hodgins is like, I'm sorry. And that's when he gets upset. He almost starts crying because he's so upset because of he broke up with his girlfriend and his Zach got fucked up and he's like feeling really discombobulated. And this is when Starrett says, I'm going to leave tomorrow. So maybe you should talk to somebody who's going to be sticking around. And the point is, Starrett says, you have a lot of people here that care about you.
Yes.
They want you to be happy. Maybe you should tell them how you feel and they can be there for you. And that's true. You want to tell people how you feel so that they will have the opportunity to be of service to you in a friendship, relationship, whatever. Don't hide things like that are bothering you. Tell somebody, it doesn't serve anyone. Anyway, during this time, while they're sifting through the dog grave dirt, Starrett finds this piece of plastic and he goes, what's this? And Hodgins says, oh, it looks like it's a chip that you insert in a dog to identify them. And then Hodgins looks at Starrett and goes, yeah, but you already knew that, didn't you? And I didn't need to explain it to you. And Starrett says, yeah, pretty much. So Starrett, in my opinion, is a person who shows a lot of grace to Hodgins, and I just think he's a great character, and I'm so happy to have met him.
I like him. While we're chatting, I want to find out if he comes back, because I just assumed he didn't.
Please do, because I'll go on. The next scene, we have Booth, who's talking to Sweets to ask him how it went with Parker. Why didn't this happen before when the session actually happened? Who knows? Maybe it's the same day and I'm not paying attention to the suits they're wearing. I don't know. Regardless, turns out the Parker doesn't have any problem with finding fingers. He has a problem of a bully. He has a girl at school who's much larger than he is, who is bullying him, and she's carrying him around the schoolyard at recess. And he wanted the finger so he could take it to school and show it to her and scare the shit out of her. And he says, Booth says, why doesn't he just run away? And Sweet says, well, actually, he said because his father, like Booth, he says to Booth, he says, you taught him not to run away from things because you're very brave. And Booth is so chuffed. He's so chuffed when he hears that Parker is like proudly talking about his father. Like he's so excited. And then this is what really made me, this made me laugh.
I just thought it was so funny that Booth is like, oh, my kid isn't messed up. Everything's fine.
Yeah, he's all happy. Yeah. Plus, and Sweet says, you know what to do, Booth. Everyone's had a bully. And Booth is like, no.
No, no one's ever carried me around like a monkey, especially not a girl.
And Sweets goes, yeah, no, not me either.
Yeah, I wouldn't have that either.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. Sure. Like as if Sweets wasn't bullied all his life. But that means that Booth was a bully.
Oh, yeah. I think we've gotten that impression before.
Well, didn't Brennan call him that too when they did that whole high school episode? Remember?
Yeah. That he was a jock and anyway. Okay. Starrett, this intern does not come back until he does come back, but only one more time. in season 10, episode 10, the 200th and the 10th. So we'll see. Maybe he'll come back in a different capacity.
As that character?
He comes back as that character,
As
but
Derek?
I don't think he doesn't come back. I don't think he comes back as an intern though.
Does he
Because
come back
it's-
as a dead body?
It says he comes back as a pilot.
How he got another job?
Which is kind of funny.
So we're back at the lab and they check out the dog. The microchip looks like it was removed from this dog that they identified as the murder weapon of Elliot. And then they go check out the chip's information and they find the identification number and that the name of the dog is Ripley and it's traced back to Elliot's veterinary office. So we have to go talk to
Yes.
Karen again. What's Karen say?
We talked to Karen and she's not all that helpful because she basically said, well, she's a little bit helpful. She says, yes, his owners did bring him here. He was supposed to be put to sleep, this dog. And because they were idiots and they got this cute little adorable puppy and forgot that dogs grow. And so he ended up being this huge dog. And so Seth, the victim, he just couldn't bear to put down a dog for that reason. It makes no sense. That's just murder. So he found this dog Ripley a new home. And so they're like, okay, well, yeah, he found him a new home and he was fighting in a dog fighting facility. And he says no, like she's adamant that he never ever would have knowingly sent him to living at a dog fighting facility. So she's absolutely adamant that he would never do anything that would ever harm one of his dogs. So it kind of puts a little bit of a perspective in place. Either she's out to lunch or there's something else going on here.
Well, she just doesn't think he would do that. So next we have Booth, who's going to see Brennan in her office. She's sitting on the couch looking at files on her computer, and who's on her couch with her but Ripley, the dog who killed the vet. And he's stretched out on the couch with his head in her lap, and she's petting him. And I want
So
this
cute.
dog. I want him to
know.
lie on my lap. I want to pet his fur. Brennan loves this dog. Booth is freaked out. He's like, what the hell are you doing? This dog murdered a vet. He should be put in his kennel. I don't understand why Booth has a fear of dogs. So anyway, he asked her what she's doing. She's looking through files for the case on the computer, and she's noticing these pictures from the dogfighting ring that Elliot took. There's some of wounds that dogs have sustained while fighting that have been stitched up. And Brennan recognizes the stitching, these suture marks. She's like, this is a very unique style of suturing, and I think I've seen it before. So, where do we go next? The scrapyard. I think you're muted, darling. This happens a lot today, hasn't it?
Oh boy, that's like the 5th time. Oh my god.
I have to edit all this shit out, Brittany.
I have important things to say.
We're almost done, I promise.
Making your editing difficult. I'm exhausted today. Sorry. So
we're almost done.
Yeah, no, we're good. I'm here. I'm here. I am present. So we end up back. Yeah. So we end up back at the scrapyard where all the dog fighting takes place. And Booth and Brennan are there, and they are talking to Hop, the medical student who had tutored Robbie. And that's where immediately, when you see the scene, when you see the stitching on the animals, it's immediately obvious that this guy's involved. So they ask him about the stitching, and of course he's denying, and he's such an idiot. He turns to the other two and he's like, just everybody shut up and we'll all be fine. And I'm like, why would you say that? It makes it worse. Anyway, so the dog
Ah,
whispers there with them, and
yes. And he
they
parades Ripley in. He brings Ripley in.
yes, brings Ripley in, and he says, "Listen, Ripley's a good dog. He would only respond to his master." So he
Mm.
says, "Okay, both of you have to clap. You go first. Robbie, you clap." And Robbie's like, "I'm not clapping. Why would I clap?" And Don is like, his dad is like, "Okay, you idiot. Just clap. You're not his master. Obviously, you're going to be fine." So he claps, and sure enough, Ripley does not come running to him. And then this other guy, Hops, Hop does not want to clap because we have a 50-50 chance of figuring out who the master is, and Robbie isn't it. So statistically, I think it has to be Hop. So Booth, sorry, goes behind him and just claps twice, and sure enough, Ripley runs directly to him. And he's waiting for his command.
Yes, the dog is very good. And Don Timmons, who was dismissed from this experiment because he had an alibi, is upset. He's like, Ripley's a good dog. He would never do anything unless he was told to.
Yeah.
So Don's son is caught between a rock and a hard place because he has loyalty to the tutor, but he also has his father. I mean, who's going to take precedence, right? But then the father reminds him, like, he killed my friend. Like, I grew up with this guy. He killed this guy. Like, you can't just defend him. So the son coughs up that he was there. He said, we caught Seth taking these pictures at the dog fights, and yeah, he was there when Hop sicked Ripley on Elliot, and he helped him, I guess, dispose of the body. Did he, or do something? Maybe?
I think so. I think that Robbie did help Hop, but out of obligation to him.
I think maybe he just saw the attack. Maybe he just saw the attack. Yeah.
I suspect he saw the attack and helped him load the body into the car, which is how the prescription ended up in the car.
Yeah.
But
could you imagine being killed by a dog?
That'd be horrible.
What a violent death. Violent death.
That would not be good.
You just lose all your blood. It's just be like slowly.
I just want to go on my sleep. And I won't know.
Please.
That's my dream.
Yeah.
So we end up in Sweet's office, and Sweets is sitting across from none other than, who is Sweet sitting with?
Hodgins!
So Hodgins says to him, he's like, "Okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's go for it. I hate everyone. I hate Angela the most because we had something amazing and she fucked it up, basically.
Right.
I hate Zach because of what he did." And he goes through the list. He hates everyone.
Yes. Hates everybody.
And he's like, "Okay, what do we do now? Are you going to put me on intense medication? Do I need to come for therapy every day?"
Yeah.
And Sweets looks at him. He's like, "No, this is a great coping mechanism. You're doing great." And he's like, "Are you fucked? What are you talking about?" I hate everyone. How could this be a good coping mechanism? So ultimately, it looks like Sweets was actually just checking on him, because Hodgins is like, "Okay, fine. So are you my therapist now? How often do I come? Whatever." He's like, "Oh, no, we work together. I can't be your therapist." No. But I was like, then why was he basically stalking him through the lab?
He's just telling him he needs to talk to somebody. So
Just
it was
checking
good
in on
for
him?
Hodgins to say, "I'm mad at everybody. I hate everybody. I hate this. I hate that." He's just saying all these things that he's very resentful about. And Sweets is giving him permission to be angry. He's like, "You're allowed. If you weren't angry, if you weren't resentful, if you weren't experiencing these strong emotions, then he would have a real problem. There would be psychopathy or sociopathy. Something would be wrong with Hodgins if he wasn't feeling all these things." Because he said, "You're independently wealthy. You don't have to work here. You don't have to keep coming back every day, but you do, because apparently you, quote unquote, hate all these people." But he doesn't. He doesn't hate these people. Hodgins doesn't hate anybody. really. I mean, he's sarcastic and dry and all those things, but he doesn't hate anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he feels immediately better having unloaded a little bit. So it's good.
I think it's good. It's actually kind of a sweet moment.
It is
A little bit
sweet.
between
And the
them.
next scene, I'm just too upset. I can't do it. Go.
Okay. It's actually, yeah, this is heartbreaking. Okay, so Brennan walks into Booth's office.
Yep.
And Brennan is extremely excited. Booth tells her, okay, yeah, this is what's happening. We got him. Like, Robbie's going to testify against Hop. Everything's fine. And Brennan's like, okay, yeah, that's great. That's great. Look what I did. So I already contacted a dog walker. I figured out what I'm going to do. I'm going to adopt Ripley. It's going to be great. Look, I already got Ripley, this like little dog tag, Ripley Brennan. It's like a little cute shape. And Booth has to break it to her that because Ripley killed someone, he had to be put down.
The
And
way
she is
Booth
just,
tells her, though, is
oh,
like, he does it like he rips a Band-Aid off, right? Like he
yeah,
just quickly goes, because she says, I'm going to adopt Ripley. And then she goes on about all the stuff she bought him. And he goes, oh. And he stops her and he goes,
yeah,
he was put down. And then she just, like, it's like all the air leaves her body. Like, it's like
yeah,
deflated. And she sits down and she's just like devastated.
yeah,
And she's trying to express her devastation, and he's explaining like it had, and I agree. Yeah, I mean, you never know, right? Like, you have somebody, a
yeah,
dog that killed somebody, like, you say the wrong thing, somebody shouts something, or the dog gets agitated, like, who knows, right? It's kind of unpredictable, and you
yeah. That's
can't,
hard to
like, if they're
untrain.
a risk out there like that around children and
Yeah,
all that stuff. So it's so sad though. It really, when he said that, I was literally, because I honestly thought when the dog was on her lap in that scene,
yeah,
I thought, oh, this is great. She's going to adopt a dog. It's going to be awesome. I was like, it would be great if she had a dog, right?
yeah.
I was really,
No can
really
do.
devastated. It was shocking. Shocking.
It was shocking. But Booth and
Yeah.
Brennan, they just have this beautiful, amazing, wonderful relationship. And so she finds out, she says, okay, what happened with the remains? So they
Yeah.
give Ripley a proper burial
Yeah.
in the middle of like a forest. I don't know where is that?
Who knows? Some kind of public
Anyway,
property
somewhere.
in the
And
back of the Jeffersonian.
they go back and forth, and they have these just like a very sweet exchange about Ripley, and then he encourages her to say a few words to Ripley, even though in her words, dogs have limited vocabulary skills. But she does. She goes on to say some pretty nice things, and it's very sweet. Mark
Yeah. Mark what?
Mark pointed out that this is very similar to when they went to go talk to her mother's grave.
Yeah.
And he was like explaining to her that like you can talk to like Ripley the spirit, or the
Yeah.
mother the spirit. You don't have to talk directly to Booth.
But nothing matters. She says a few words about
No.
Ripley because during this time, they're talking,
Mm-hmm.
about Parker's situation while they're burying the dog, and how to go with Parker, and Booth's like, I don't know. I told him, you got to walk away sometimes. And Brendan goes, sometimes, you should always walk away. And he goes, well, I mean, when it's something about you, if it's a front against you, you walk away. But if it's for someone else, you always fight.
Mm-hmm.
And this made me almost cry because she stopped
Mm-hmm.
what she was doing. She stopped with the shovel and the dirt, and she looked at him. She goes, you're a good father. That's what she says.
I
to him.
know.
It was the most like heart melting. And you could tell Booth was just like, that was like the highest compliment someone could give him,
Yeah.
So sweet. So sweet.
It's a perfect ending to the episode because it starts with him having that moment with his son.
Yes.
So,
And then, yeah, for sure. And then she eventually speaks from the heart about how upsetting it is that Ripley was such a good dog.
mm-hmm.
And she says the same thing. There are no bad dogs. There's the classic saying of there's no such thing as a bad dog, only
Yeah.
bad owners. And yeah, that's basically the sentiment at the end of the day. It's like it's not fair how people treat these dogs, and this dog deserved better. And she was really sorry to see him go. And then they hug, and it's just like it's so sad because you know what? It
is.
just reminds me of all the dogs. I've had a lot of dogs, and one in particular, my mother had when she was like. My mother had to move out of her place and move in with her mother, and she couldn't bring her dog with her. And then
Oh
she
no.
gave the dog up for a dog. Like she just gave it up to the shelter. Didn't
Mm.
call me. I was like, I found out like 2 weeks later that she'd done this. She didn't tell me. And I was like, I would have taken the dog in a second. It was
Mhm.
like a 14-year-old dog that had never known any other life
Mm.
except with my mother. And I was like, how could you do that? Like, it's so careless and thoughtless. Like, I don't understand the mentality of some people, And I was very upset with my
Mhm.
mother for a very long time. This is like not, this is a while ago. I was with Greg though. I was with Greg at the time.
Yeah.
And I was just like, things like that, you lose. I've had so many dogs, I've lost so many dogs. And it's just like, it's the nothing, they're going to die. Like, fuck,
Yeah.
they're going to die. It's just, it's
But
heartbreaking.
it's so sad.
But it's like I had my old dog Jack for 15 years, right?
Yeah.
And when he died, that was heartbreaking. But then I learned, like when I got this dog I have now, Tiki, I
Yeah.
learned so much from having that other dog that I just pour all of my, all my love, all my heart, all my, everything. That dog is so spoiled. He has a dog bed. He has a chair he sleeps on. He has a bed over here. He sleeps in our bed. Like
He eats cheese.
so we pay the cheese tax. I let him do whatever the hell he wants, because they're only here for a certain amount of time, like within reason. Obviously,
Yeah.
I let him, I train him. I take the time. That's part of loving a
Yeah.
dog too.
That's
and taking
important
care of
though.
You have to take care of the dog, and that's part of it, is training them to be a
Yeah.
good dog. And he is a very, very good dog. So,
Yeah.
and you've met him, Tiki. He's a good boy.
He's the best. He's so friendly. Wayne is terrified of dogs, and he willingly pets Tiki, so that is a good sign.
Who's your king? Who's your king of the lab?
My king of the lab is Ripley. R.I.P. Ripley.
I'm with you. Ripley wins king of the lab this week. 100%. He's going to win king of the lab for a while, I think, in our hearts.
In our hearts. And
Now,
how about you? Who's
lab
your
rat? Oh, I said my king's Ripley. I'm with you. I chose Ripley as well as the king.
Who's your
The
lab rat though?
I'm going to let you go because I'm still on the fence a little.
My lab rat is Hop, because fuck that guy. Honestly. The way he comes in and he's all smug and he thinks he's getting away with it in that first scene where he's like, thanks so much for giving me a tour. And like he's so disrespectful, has this alarm that goes off, so he's gonna miss, so he has to leave right away. Otherwise he's gonna miss class. Like, you're talking to an FBI agent and
It's an
a
FBI
world-renowned
agent. Yeah, no
Yeah.
respect, man.
No respect. So yeah, fuck that guy. How about you?
All right, let's make it unanimous. I was debating on Hodgins, but Hodgins has legitimate reasons for acting like a dick. So
Yeah.
I'm going to go with
And-
Hop as well. He was my first choice because, again, like you, I'm with you, walking in like that, being so flippant
Yes.
about the fact that he sicked a dog on a man.
Yes.
The dog bit his throat. He watched a man basically bleed to death and die.
Yeah.
Drove a car with that body in it and dumped it. Like, that's
That's
vicious.
next level sicko
And he's a
behavior.
med student. He's
Yeah.
a med student. And he's
Crazy.
going to school like he's going to get away with it. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
Crazy. I agree. Well, good job, Brittany. That's the end of the show, and I'm looking forward to moving forward. Now, you haven't watched ahead like you did season 3, correct?
No, I haven't. So I'm
Okay.
curious
So we
where
are
this is
kind
gonna
of
go.
in a similar boat, but you're more familiar with like generally what happens.
The
I am,
relationships in particular.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
so curious about how all of this proceeds, because this
Yeah.
level of with what's happening with Booth and Brennan, for instance, like in the last episode, the way Booth was so forthright saying, you will find someone to spend the rest of your life with, if you're open to it. And
Yeah.
now they're having a moment where she tells him he's a good father, which is a very I'm with Booth. Like he's very proud, because his son is proud of him and Brennan's proud of him. So he's feeling, I imagine, very good about things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, Booth
We
and
meet-
Brennan, what can I say?
I just wanted to see what intern we were going to meet next. That's
Oh,
why I
don't
was
tell
just
me.
looking over here.
Don't tell me.
I'm not going to tell you, but another one of my faves.
Oh my God.
We're meeting another fave.
On that note,
I don't know. I can't remember.
Rate, review, subscribe. Apparently it matters. Please, help us out. Get us out there. It'd be great to get some more listeners, and then join our campaign to get David Boreanaz on the show now that he's unemployed. Is he unemployable? We don't know, but he's definitely unemployed right now. Anyway, let's get David on the show. I'm going to start doing my campaign on social media. And
Okay, perfect.
Email squintcastpodcast@gmail.com. Everything's in the show notes if you need to contact us on Instagram, TikTok, whatever. And thank you again for joining us for this episode of
Squintcast.
See you next time. Bye. Thank you for listening to Squintcast with me, Kelly Booth, and your new friend, Brittany Elsner. The Bones theme is performed by The Crystal Method. They can be found on Instagram and YouTube at The Crystal Method and at thecrystalmethod.com. Intro and outro music is by Twisterium at Pixabay. Cover art was done by Irena Dolenc-Stajan. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Squintcast. Email us at squintcastpodcast@gmail.com. You can find me at fab_empire_ on Instagram and TikTok. Brittany is at Brittany81523 on Instagram. See you next time.